Heidi Trainor. I know she's over here somewhere. Can you join me? Heidi's just one of those people that has, from my perspective anyway, a holistic view of living her life. So she's a person who wants her body to be healthy. She's a long-distance runner. She eats incredibly well. Her physical health and wellness is really important to her. She's very strong academically. She loves her work. She feels that that's certainly part of her recovery. Just let me back up for a second. When I asked Heidi what the most important part of her recovery was, she had to pause because there are so many parts of her recovery that are important to her. So physical health, being academically strong, which I believe that she is. She loves her work as a peer specialist. It gives her a sense of accomplishment and strength, even though it's sometimes hard to hear other stories that remind her of her own. She loves reading and writing poetry. She loves animals. She values relationships in a very significant way, including those 3 nieces that she talked about. And then sometimes I would imagine she sleeps, but it is our pleasure to introduce, or my pleasure to introduce Heidi to speak a little bit about her.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I would first like to thank Sue Sharapa, Diane Gould, and Keith Scott for the opportunity to be here with you today. And a special thank you to our legislators and all of you for braving the rain and the parking situation to be here today. I share my story often, and I worked pretty hard to get it down to a 6-minute synopsis, typed it out neatly, and then I had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine. And I'm going to have to deviate a little bit from the script. My friend is having a really difficult time, and she called me from the emergency room. And for me, this brought up just a lot of feelings and memories of how many times I was in that situation, in that emergency room, whether by choice or usually by not. And it brought to me the issue of what led me there, and what helped me get to the point where I no longer feel the need to go to the emergency room. For me, like many others that I've met in the work that I do and the travels that I've been on, trauma has had a huge impact on my life. And for me, forming connections, building trust with people was always extremely difficult. I was probably around 6 years old when I first had that feeling that I just didn't want to go on. I just really wanted to die. And that feeling carried on with me. And it's still there today. As a senior in college, probably the first time I uttered those words to a therapist. And for me, that led to a section, which led to an evaluation, which led to a hospitalization. And I found over the years that I lost the ability to share that information. Because for me, sharing that information became dangerous. If I shared that I was having thoughts of hurting myself, thoughts of ending my life, I could have my choices taken away from me. An important part for me of my recovery process was finding a space where I could be open and honest about what was going on for me, the emotional distress I was experiencing, find a place where I would be met with a non-judgmental curiosity, having a conversation with a clinician about why I was going through what I was and what I felt I needed to help myself in that moment. I think back on the time I've spent in the mental health system and the times my choices were taken away from me, and I am so incredibly grateful for the past 10 years that I've been involved with a human service agency that focuses on treating people like people and not a diagnosis, that honors all of our abilities to make our own choices, that advocates for people to stay out of the hospital if at all possible. For me, a large part of my journey has been discovering my strengths, which for so long I wasn't in touch with. Finding people that had hope for me and that helped me see my strengths, identify my strengths, and build on those has been so crucial. One of the things I like most about my job as a peer specialist is that I get to use my story of lived experience. I get to meet people where they're at, share what I've been through, and show them that there's hope. We all experience emotional states that are hard to deal with. Some of us have been labeled and diagnosed. Some of us, like me, may fear uttering those words of hopelessness. And I guess the message I want to send is that I hope all of us as a community can have a conversation with people who are in deep distress, be there for them in their pain, and help them through it, hopefully without forced treatment. I guess I just want to close by acknowledging that forming connections is difficult for a lot of us who have experienced trauma. And I know for me, it was an integral part of me being on this journey and reaching the point where I'm at today. Meet people where they're at. Approach them with curiosity. Try and understand how they got to be in the place they are today. And treat others as you would treat yourself or a loved one. We are all people, whether we've been diagnosed or not. Thank you.